Hello, my friends, and welcome to the far, far too late Q&A for April 2024. I had a lot going on, so this got delayed and delayed and delayed because I just wasn't making it, but we're finally here, so I'm gonna knock it out. My apologies. With that being said, let's get started. The first question comes from Asteroid, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, and it says, how old is your cat? When did you get her? And is her actual name Kitty Meow Meow? Well, to be quite honest with you, I can't exactly remember how old my cat is. I think she's, well, hang on, let me do some math. I want to say she's around 8 or 9. Can't exactly remember, but her name is not Kitty Meow Meow. She's actually on my lap right now taking a nap. Say hi, Kitty. She won't. She's sleeping. But regardless, her name is not Kitty Meow Meow. It's Lena, but I never call her that. I have about 150,000 nicknames, whether it's my fluffy kitty, right, Fluffy? Or Kitty Meow Meow, or any of the other names. So I don't call her by her name, but Lena is her actual given name that she'll never respond to because, well, nobody calls her that. The next question is a fraud. It's not a question. It's from Sable Diagoon 9705, and they say, hello, Mr. Clips. 3 questions. Well, considering that I took 8 years to put this out, I'm feeling generous, so I'll answer all of them. Number 1, I know you have played Arkham Asylum. Have you played City or Night? And if so, what do you think? I did play Arkham City. I've still yet to play Arkham Knight just because I haven't gotten around to it, but I really, really, really enjoyed Arkham City, much more than I enjoyed Arkham Asylum. So personally, I'm really looking forward to Arkham Knight, assuming that it's as good or better than City. I know that's a very contentious thing. There's some people that think that Arkham Knight is the best out of all of them, and there's some people that think that Arkham Knight is the worst out of all of them. So it's pretty contentious over there. I'm not sure how I'll feel after I finish it, but that also assumes I get around to actually playing it, which, well, I've got a lot on my plate right now, so I don't know when the hell that'll ever be. Number 2, what is your opinion on TCA having a battle pass? Personally, I think they shouldn't exist, but if they have to, they should be relegated to battle royale games alone. That's an odd take. The TCA Battle Pass, I'm actually surprised there weren't more questions about this, so I'll take this chance to answer it. But a lot of people were absolutely losing their minds and freaking out about the TCA Battle Pass. I did know about it ahead of time, just as a fair warning, and I've pretty much quit TCA at this point in its entirety, so obviously at the end of the day, I don't really necessarily care what they're doing over there, but I will say that the Battle Pass in of itself, I never had a problem with. I think they could have implemented it a lot better, namely the fact that they basically got a bunch of people excited for, or at least the current player base that is there, excited for, you know, a new stand coming out, and then when they actually released the stand, they locked it behind a Battle Pass, which is kind of fucked up. I think if they wanted to get away with this without any backlash and have a system that I think is honestly really cool, the idea of being able to grind to get early access to something is genuinely really cool from a player perspective, and it's also, I'm sure, very good monetarily, since you can have people that don't want to do that, so they'll just skip their way there. I think that makes a lot of sense, and what they should have done was they should have released 2 things when they came out with the Battle Pass. They should have released a stand that was actually done, a la Hierophant Green, and then another one which maybe just wasn't done or was barely done, and have that in the early access category. But what actually happened, which is like very, very clearly obvious, is it reads early access, but it's not early access. Let's be perfectly honest here. Of course it's not early access. They just took the thing they finished that they've been working on for the last few months and locked it behind a battle pass, and then called it early access. So of course people got pissed off. It was sort of a no-brainer situation, but I couldn't be bothered to get involved because, well, it's not my business. I'm not around over there, right? And then the third question, which is also Battle Pass related, is what is your opinion of buying the whole Battle Pass in TCA being 15,000 Robux? I don't know about dollars, but in British quid, it's 150. Half an Apex Legends heirloom for those who are interested. I don't know what that is. I know that TCA is dead and no one is buying it, but the valuation is still very shocking, especially considering most of it is rokas and arrows obtainable by chests, spec items, selling, whatever. And this is another one of those things where I just don't really care necessarily, because it's one of those like skip the grind situations. But I will say, and maybe this is a leak, it's not like it fucking matters at this point, so I'm just gonna say it. But Peter, the owner of TCA, has had a very long history of way overpricing game passes and things of the like, saying that people will buy them, and the people who buy them, like, that spend a shitload of money, end up making more of a financial impact than if the prices were lower and, like, more people would buy it, if that makes any sense. Now, I don't have the stats on this. From a logic perspective, without the stats, I don't think that makes very much sense. Like, if it were me and I was running the business, I would want as many people as possible to be buying these things, so I would price them at not $150 fucking dollars. But, you know, I am not the person who runs stuff over there, so that's not my decision to make. And frankly, like I said, I just don't really care. The next question is from itswiki8545, and they say, hey Eclipse, if you had like 10 editors and 10 million subs and all the resources in the world, you can make basically any video you want, from documentaries to gaming videos. Would you still make the content you do now? Would you still make videos about funny JoJo punchy games? No, absolutely not. I would not make the videos that I make now. I don't like most of the videos that I put out on my channel. And if I had the freedom to do absolutely whatever the fuck I wanted, there would be a lot of videos that pertain to just having fun and enjoying games with my friends, because whenever I play with my friends, there's probably like hundreds of videos that could have been produced in the last year or two where I'm playing with people, and if I just recorded those play sessions and cut them together and edited them a little bit, then I could have video after video after video. But those videos don't get very much views because they're almost always on games that no one gives a shit about on this channel, so they don't happen. In terms of other videos that I would make if I just had complete freedom, I would probably make videos giving feedback and criticism about games that I actually care about, in hopes of developers and the people behind those games actually seeing them. So, for example, I've been playing a fair amount of Gray Zone Warfare, which if you're in the Tarkov community, you probably know about. If you're not, you have no clue. But it's basically sort of a mix between Tarkov and Arma, I guess is the best way to put it. And as someone who enjoys Arma and someone who enjoyed Tarkov, it's a fun game for me. I've been enjoying playing it. But it also has a mountain of problems, some of which I don't really see too many people mentioning. And it's one of those things where I wish I had a base that was large enough to get those people's attention so I can talk about it. Like, one of the really small things is that the AI at times can feel really unfair, and a lot of people have mentioned that. But what I don't think a lot of people have brought up, or at least something that I haven't heard at all, is that the AI voice lines, in order to indicate when they've seen you or when they're in the area, are really quiet for some reason, and I'm not entirely sure why. And I think a lot of the AI difficulty can be tuned down if the AI was easier to identify where they were by when they're sort of screaming at you. But it doesn't make a whole lot of sense when somebody's on the other side of a wall yelling at you directly, and it's hard to even hear that they're saying anything to begin with. And so that's just one of those really small things that I would mention in a video if I had a base that I would want those developers to hear, because those developers are very adept at taking feedback. But, I mean, there's only so much I can do, right? I don't have 10 editors and 10 million subscribers and all the resources in the world, so we're working under the limitations that we've got. Speaking of Tarkov, Ayawi8942 says, what's your take on the escape from Tarkov situation? Which a fair amount of people watching this will have no idea what that's about. Actually, maybe they will, because it hit mainstream, which is hilarious. But I didn't make a video on the Tarkov situation, mainly because there was nothing that I could say that hadn't already been said by everyone else. Now, granted, was that a good idea? Probably not, because I could have capitalized on the drama, but sort of too late now, I suppose. I was also not in a great headspace while all that stuff was going on as it was, and so, you know, not a great idea to be making videos and whatnot at that point. But regardless, my take is the same as everyone else. I think it's absolutely hysterical that Battlestate Games decided that it would be a phenomenal idea to release the PvE mode under a $250 paywall. I think it's absolutely hilarious that they thought that adding a bunch of pay-to-win items exclusive to that $250 edition they thought was even a remotely good idea. And then the best part about all of it, hands down, was the fact that they still didn't understand why people were upset and tried to lessen the blow by giving more pay-to-win bullshit to people who paid for the EOD edition. Like, guys, we're not upset that we're not also getting the pay-to-win. We don't want the pay-to-win. Come on! It's not hard! Get it through your head, man! Nikita is a clueless moron. I have determined that Nikita is a clueless moron. Any faith that I had in Battlestate Games or Nikita or any of those people is completely flushed down the toilet. I don't know if I'm ever going to play Tarkov again, to be quite frank with you. It was like the ultimate slap in the face. I don't think there could be a bigger slap in the face than what they did. As it stands right now, there's a lot of people saying a lot of things about Gray Zone Warfare, which is what I just talked about, and I agree with most of the things that people have been saying about it. I think it's a fun game. But, and its base seems good. The developers seem very, open to feedback and fixing things. So I think that later down the line, I genuinely believe that if they stay the course, Gray Zone can be a really good game that can sort of fill that void that Tarkov left. But other than that, I'm pretty much done, at least for now. I don't know if I'm even going to bother playing the next wipe. I'm certainly done with this wipe, and I wish they hadn't done that because, well, it's just fucking stupid. Impatient Platypus says, viewer counts have been going up recently and your subs are gaining as well. Do you think the Eclipse channel renaissance is on the horizon? No. I don't know what channel you've been watching, because you're right about the subs going up. We did have a fair amount of subscriber gain in the last month or so. I think mainly in part due to that Souls RNG video, which did really, really well. But aside from that, I don't know if you're watching the same channel I am, because, I mean, here, just look. Does that look good? I mean, it's not really bad, but it's nowhere near where we were at. It's better than when I was uploading TCA, I guess, but that's not saying much, man. So no, channel horizon or channel renaissance on the horizon, doubtful unless I decide to finally break and become a drama channel, which is what everyone seems to want from me. Seriously, the Souls RNG video might as well be a fucking drama video. Look how good that did. I should be making videos about the Battlegrounds, Uzu Battlegrounds, and just shitting on it constantly, because if I did that and made a bunch of drama videos, I'd make money. And honestly, at this point, it might end up coming down to that. I don't want it to. I've been delaying it as long as I can, but if that's what it comes down to, and that's all people want to see, then I guess my morals will have to become secondary to my career, which is unfortunate, but that's where we're getting to. Asteroid 225 says, what got you into making a YouTube channel? I'm really interested to know. Also, what got you into color guard for marching band? I'm in marching band as well. That's awesome. Excited for the Type Soul DDoS. I'm actually gonna go start digging for stuff right after I finish recording for this. So, yeah, that and the Guts and Black Powder thing. Oh my god. But what got me into making a YouTube channel? I just felt like it. It was literally a spur-of-the-moment thing. I was playing a shitload of Escape from Tarkov. I was like, why shouldn't I be making videos? I've always wanted to, but I just never bothered. So I did, and then I started making the Roblox stuff. It took off, and here we are. As for Color Guard, I think I told this story on a Q&A, but it also might have been a stream. I told it to a bunch of people. But I did marching band in my sophomore year of high school. And after I did it, I was always sort of enamored by the color guard. I thought it was really cool, and I wanted to do it. And so that year, I decided to go to the Winter Guard interest meeting, which I didn't have any idea what I was potentially getting into, because if you know anything about color guard, which most of you don't, is that Winter Guards tend to be significantly more intense than they are for marching band, because it's basically directly just centered around the guard, and obviously that depends on where you are and and how high of a level the guard is in the band versus the winter guard. But regardless, usually you're gonna start in color guard first and then do a winter guard. I did the other way around. I was really, really bad because, I mean, I had never done anything like that in my life. I had 0 dance experience. I had 0 equipment experience. I was just a complete noob. So I was put on as an alternate. Someone quit, so then I got put in the show, and I fell in love with it, and I've been doing it since. As of this summer, I'm once again marching with Fusion Corps for drum corps, which I also did last year. So if you happen to be in the drum corps space on the East Coast, you might see me. Maybe you won't. But if you do, feel free to say hi. Supernova2498 says, "Hey Eclipse, I love your videos, by the way. Anyhow, do you think Roblox Jojo has any chance of coming back? YBA for sure I don't think will come as Uzuki or however to fuck you spell his name. I don't know, gave up and now is working on a boring grounds AUT. Here's one where recent news came. Kerr is now head developer again, so we removed the gambling. Everywhere it has a chance. Sakura is doing good right now. TCA, last time I booted it up, I had a pretty good time. I don't know the state of the game now, but it seems to be doing bad. As a game dev, I'm gonna take notes of this. Hopefully we can have fun playing these games again. I hope." It's a DDoS comment in the Q&A. People knew this too. They replied to his comment saying, "Quick, edit your comment and put in punctuation or Eclipse is gonna shit on you." Well, too late. Anyways, to unpack the actual question, rather than just making fun of them for their massive run-on, but by the way, I'm sorry. You literally used punctuation in the first sentence and then fucked it for the whole rest of the thing. Come on, man. You're making my life difficult. Anyways, do I think there's any chance of YBA coming back? No, not really. And it's kind of funny because YBA never really had to die. I think the base, in a lot of ways, is almost still sort of there. And if Uzu had sold the game to somebody or kept developing it himself and kept on an actual decent schedule, I genuinely believe that it would still be around at 10,000 plus players regularly, maybe even more. Because there's a lot of hoopla and stuff going around about how Roblox Jojo is dead or Jojo has fallen off so it's dead and all that kind of stuff. But I really, there were so many people so hardcore invested, and some people still are so hardcore invested in YBA that if they had kept putting out updates and not gone on 6 to 12 month hiatuses, I really think the game would still be around. I don't know if it would be any good because their decisions that they've made in terms of how they've run the game since then have been questionable, and their updates come out with just ridiculous crap every single time. But regardless, I would say the game would have been still around. The whole death of YBA is their own doing for sure. As for the Battleground stuff, I don't care. It'll come out at some point. People will probably play it for a little bit and then quit because, well, there won't be any updates. I imagine Uzu at this point doesn't really care about any of this stuff. He just made a shitload of money from YBA and is just sort of coasting right now because he really doesn't have anything to prove to anyone. He already made his money. And so if he doesn't want to develop games anymore, I mean, why would he if he doesn't want to? So whatever. As for the AUT stuff, I mean, that game is completely dead to me after they turned it into Gambling Simulator. I don't know if they removed the gambling. I don't really care. It's one of those things where it's like a principle kind of scenario, where it's like, if you guys have the audacity to do this, you are dead to me and I want nothing to do with you kind of deal. And they crossed that line, so I can't. I really, really can't. And then Sakura bullshit, again, don't care. So, I don't know. It's just, this was almost sort of a non-question, I suppose. It was like 800 questions, but not any real questions, so I guess we'll just sort of move forward. I feel like I almost sort of answered this already just because of all of the stuff beforehand, but Kaisuke says Uzu promised to release Eternal Battlegrounds on January 1st. It's now May 5th. What are your thoughts on this? Did you think he would delay it this long? No, actually. I can say that I'm probably foolish enough to assume that that game at the very least would have come out remotely on time. Just based off of an assumption, not based off of anything. I figured at the very least, since he didn't care about YBA anymore, he did care about his new game, so he would at least put effort into there, but he didn't. So, oh well, whatever. SuperSnake2832 says, do you plan to make more Deepwoken content? I really liked the videos you made on it and thought that the Layer 2 video was especially funny, although if you don't, I'd understand because Deepwoken could be very painfully frustrating sometimes. Love your videos, keep up the good work. Thank you, SuperSnake. As for the Deepwoken stuff, I feel like I've answered this 100 times, but I'm going to keep answering it mostly because I know those Deepwoken videos that I did do still get traction. So there's some people that come to my channel and they literally subscribe for Deepwoken and then they don't find anything. And so they're like, what happened? But as I've said before, and I'm sure I'll say again, Deepwoken is just a game that I look at it and I don't really want to boot it up. I burned myself out. I played a lot and then I just don't really have too many reasons to log in and play again. I don't know why. I can't really explain it to you. It just doesn't appeal to me. Like, I don't think about logging into Deepwoken and having fun. So if I'm not going to log in and have fun, then almost sort of why bother? I can say that the only likelihood that I play more Deepwoken is if I'm directly playing it with friends and messing around, sort of like I did in the little Fishwoken video that I did a while back, because that was a lot of fun to record and it was a lot of fun to make. And I think it was a funny video. So if there's going to be more Deepwoken, it's probably going to be along the lines of that. And I will say I also was sort of... It was a weird scenario because I made the Deepwoken review, which the developer saw, and I also made the Voidwalker video, and there were some good, positive, results of those things, but there were also some negative things that I've heard about. So, like, they made Voidwalker easier to access, which was good, but instead of trying to make the other origins, like, more viable, they just made it harder to play Voidwalker again. This is just what I've been told. This is not corroborated by anything. So, like, they cut the XP gain on PvE some more and stuff like that. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, why would you do stuff like that? I don't think you should be making Voidwalker harder to play. I think you should be giving people incentives to play the other ones. So that way Voidwalker is a role that's played by everyone. As I said in my Voidwalker video, I think that Voidwalker should be accessible by most people. That way when you do run into a Voidwalker, it's not like a complete hopeless scenario. Because how it was before, and I don't know if it's still this way, because like I said, I haven't played, is that like 80% of the time, if someone would come at you and they were a Voidwalker, they would be like an ultra PvP 200-hour sweat. And so you would just get demolished. And so what it would really come down to is a lot of the time, if you heard the Voidwalker noise of them teleporting to you, you'd be like, well, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna lose, and I'm gonna have another death, so I might as well leave. And there was a lot of things that we talked about behind the scenes where I talked with Archmage, and one of the things that I discussed a fair bit is to make it so that the impact of dying to Voidwalkers was lessened, so maybe it doesn't count a death, and there's a whole bunch of different ways you could do that. But none of that stuff ended up happening as far as I'm aware, so it's almost pretty much the same scenario without any real fixes? I don't know. So that dissuades me from doing videos talking about how to improve things, at least in my eyes. And finally, the last question is, Cersei, what is your home address? 123 Fake Street.